Coming at you live from all over Ohio. A Cleveland Browns podcast full of laughs, rants, fun, and stats. A place where all Browns fans' voices are welcome and heard. A show that aims to inform and entertain you. With your hosts, Jacob, Nick, and Ed. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Barking Browns Show.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into episode 66 of the Barking Brown Show. I am your host, Jacob at Richism13, joined as always by my wonderful co-hosts, Mr. Nick Carnes at Carnesies817 on Twitter, and below us, Mr. Ed in Columbus. Gentlemen, how are we tonight?
Ed, what you got?
You know what? I don't got much. We're all awaiting the decision on our franchise quarterback. But you know what we got? We got training camp, and it's just like spring training. You know, hope springs eternal, but I think fall springs, I don't know, football, and I'll take that over that hope thing any day. And I can't wait till our Cleveland Browns get back in action. And I see on Twitter and everything, all the green screens that you see our players. You know, they already got their uniforms on, they're looking spiffy. You know, and it can't help but get you excited. So, how are you feeling, Nick?
You know what? The best part about this is that. For those that don't know, we are all going to be together on Saturday at Browns training camp with a bunch of our friends. Andy Manchin is going, Mr. Ross Schreiber, two of Ed's teammates over at the Dog Jug. We love the Dog Jug. So my point is, though, that this is going to be really the first gathering of Browns fans again, right? And that's so exciting. You know, I think we've all been talking and making friends, and of course, through the spaces and everything, and through all of our viewership of the show, we're going to meet Mitch Metz for the first time. Can't wait to see you, Mitch. Right?
Double M's.
Yeah, Mitch Metz. It flows. It flows really well. So that's probably my favorite thing is that there's so many new friendships to make and people to share the Browns with, and that's a big part of my fandom. So I'm really
We're going to get weird. We're going to get weird this weekend. But before we dive in
What do we do, Jacob? What does that mean? I mean, I understand.
I'll tell you in a minute. I'll tell you after a word from our sponsors.
Jacob's not driving all the way home. That's
the best place to play fantasy football this summer is Underdog Fantasy. The Best Ball Mania 3 tournament has a total of $10 million in total prize money, and the best part is you just draft your fantasy team. That's it, man. There's no waivers, no trades, no in-season management. Underdog gives you the best score each week of the season, and the highest scores at the end of the year wins. So it is best ball. You do not have to set up your lineup. You don't need to worry that you accidentally put the wrong running back in. If a running back on your team scores 42 points, which is unheard of, I don't know why that was the number I pulled out of, but if a running back scores 12 points and one scores 30 points, you will get the 30. You will get the best ball, the best lineup. The champion for Best Ball Mania 2 last year was drafted in June. So what are you waiting for? Plus, Underdog is going to double your first deposit up to $100 when you sign up with our promo code 216, which is for free entries to Best Ball Mania. Like if you put in 100, they're going to give you another 100. That's 4 free entries into Best Ball Mania, which you can do. You can use all 4 of those. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to UnderdogFantasy.com or the App Store. Sign up with our code 216 and draft your Best Ball Mania 3 team today. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code 216. And speaking of fantasy football, Nicholas, I am on the clock again on one of my Underdog fantasy leagues. So we're going to start there at the top. I'm going to ask you guys what I should draft, and we'll talk to everybody.
And I'll tell you what, I've been doing my fantasy research. I've learned a lot in recent weeks. I'm super excited for this season, so I'm ready to answer some questions.
Our fantasy football show is coming up on Twitch. If you're watching live on Twitch, if you're watching on YouTube, a replay or anything like that, it'll be coming up on Twitch. I think somewhere in the middle of August is our draft, and we'll start doing weekly fantasy.
And I'll tell you what, Jacob is our grand schemer of ideas, right? He gets in the lab and he comes out with some stuff. He says, "Hey guys, how do you feel about this?" So what Jacob said to us was, we should allow the champion of our fantasy league, really any fantasy leagues that we share with you guys in Underdog, to come on and take their victory lap live on the Barking Brown show.
Yep.
And think about that. Think about Jake Jacobs just scheming in the lab. It's perfect, right?
Yeah.
Because the season's going to end, the playoffs are going to end, and what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about the leagues and the glory that you achieved in Underdog Fantasy with us. So if you want to play, that's what you're playing for. You're playing for the glory and the spotlight. You're on the Barking Brown show. What's not to like?
Yeah, we got a lot of fun for you guys tonight. So here's the deal, guys. I'm up on the clock. This is round 4 of this fantasy league, of this draft. And I'll tell you right now, I've got Dalvin Cook, Keenan Allen, Travis Kelce. That's where we're looking. That's my first 3 picks. We're looking good. We don't have a quarterback. We are only doing quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. That is where we're at. So let's look at this. Let's look. I can look at quarterbacks here if we want to. 3 quarterbacks are off the board. Justin Herbert, Josh Allen. I can't find the other one. And Patrick Mahomes are off the board. So Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow. All these guys are on
You
the
took
board.
Herbert over. No offense to whoever's drafting, but I mean, you take Herbert over Burrow over like Rodgers over like you do that.
I guess. I don't know.
Okay. I mean,
Do I go quarterback? Do I go quarterback now in the 4th? Is that what we're doing here? What do you guys think? Guys, if you are listening on the Twitch live right now, I have I'm on the clock in Underdog Fantasy again. I have Dalvin Cook, Keenan Allen, Travis Kelce. Do you think I should go quarterback or should I look elsewhere? Well, I'll give everybody a chance that's watching live to answer that. And then
is Aaron Rodgers available?
Yeah, of course he is.
I know he lost, his number 1 receiver. I get that, but I never go against that guy. I say Joe Burrow. I say Joe Burrow. I don't know.
There's definitely no quarterbacks that are like bad or bad picks here, but I think that quarterback is personally, I wait on quarterback. I wait on quarterback all the time because it's the deepest position.
I do too, but we're in round 4 where I can get a little good with. And Ian, here's a comment over here from Will Phil that I really like here. Pointing out that, Lamar's dual threat potential in terms of fantasy and what he can do running the ball. I have several picks for Burrow, saying get Burrow. Drew wants to know what's the running back availability. And I can tell you the running backs. We're looking at Travis Etienne, Breece Hall, Cam Akers, David Montgomery, J.K. Dobbins, Josh Jacobs. We've got 15 running backs off the board already. In the first.
I mean, if you can go another round and still get a quality quarterback, I mean, you might want to just roll the dice with another running back. What is the level of drop off that you'd have at quarterback between now and the 5th or whatever 5th round? And that's what you got to ask yourself.
I think I could still probably snag Rodgers because he's like quarterback 13 on here, 14 on here.
You know what? I'll tell you this about Travis Etienne. Obviously, he got hurt last year in August. He got a foot injury. Which was significant, but James Robinson, who has been terrific as an undrafted free agent, tore his Achilles in December. So I don't think he's going to be ready for the regular season because that's like one of the worst injuries you can have, especially as a running back. So Travis Etienne, to me, feels like value.
Okay. Is that... Yeah,
my point is if you can wait and get a running back or another wide receiver, somebody else from another positional group, and wait on your quarterback and still get a good quarterback. Yeah, you got to because you got to build your team with depth.
So let me ask you this: ETN or Scary Terry McLaurin?
I like Terry McLaurin
because I like Terry McLaurin.
I like Terry McLaurin. I like Ohio State Buckeyes.
But I will say, personally, I feel like Etienne's probably one of the few running back ones left, and running back dries up faster than any position. So to me, that's where I'm at. But I don't think you can go wrong.
Boom, there, Travis Etienne. Moving on.
There it is. Okay, I agree.
Well, there we go. We're moving on.
Nick and I like running backs, and I won't talk about James Cook. I don't want to talk. We won't talk about that. But we'll talk
about that value, guys. Listen, we are seeing the Browns in uniforms today. That is full uniform. Them going and recording those videos that you're going to see on the big screen come this fall is the clearest sign that football is in the air. That we have made it through the long, hard, dark off season, and boy, Was it a long, dark off season? And it's really not over because we still have this decision looming over our head. And from everything I can tell from people that, are not necessarily plugged in, I'm not going to just sit here and be like, oh, I got a bunch of sources. But from people that can read and understand trends, it does seem like it's trending that it could continue on for a little while. I still hold out hope that this week we find out, but maybe it's the end of the week. Maybe I think it might come at a weird time. What if they did it at 9:00 at night or something?
I'll tell you what. For those of us for the viewers that have been with us for a long time, that when we all went to training camp, that was the night Nick Chubb signed his extension. And it would be really ironic if 2 years in a row, some
kind of stupid, big news,
the news just breaks on Saturday. That's just it.
I've got a funny thing. I got 2 surprises for these gentlemen this evening that I put together, and I'm actually going to go ahead and break one of them out. So I hope that you guys watching enjoy this. So I am debuting a new segment, so long as everybody enjoys this segment, called Stupid Things Jacob Has Done on the Barking Brown Show. And we are starting with a clip from episode 14. We are on episode 66 this evening. This is episode 14. So what I'm looking for is moments in which I have embarrassed myself, or I gave a very strongly worded take that does not age well. And I saw a couple today. I'm jumping around. This is the one I've set on, and that is a clip from episode 14, which was titled Our Day at Training Camp. This was the live that we shot in Nick's apartment at his dining room table.
Yep.
After I had bought the Nick Chubb helmet, and he had not yet signed his extension, but he would later sign his extension that day. So it had
Jacob, let me tell the audience. So at the time, I was not on the Barking Browns, obviously, but I was at Tuttle Mall in Columbus, and I remember watching the show, and then you guys afterwards. So I kind of know where this clip might be heading, and it's going to be a fun one. I promise.
So here is the first moment, and if anybody who has watched the show knows some episodes or some timestamps of me doing stupid things or saying some bad takes that did not age well, let me know, because if you guys all enjoy this, we will start doing some more of these.
I got some bad ones. If you want to hunt down some extras.
Here's a moment of me not reading instructions on a piece of memorabilia. So enjoy. Roll that footage.
Candy orange pants, orange jerseys. Sure. I think that's a giant traffic cone. But I checked with my wife before I did that, but they had some awesome memorabilia there. I saw Jim Donovan right in front of me.
We did see Jim Donovan right in front of us.
Too scared to say hello. He was fist bumping everybody. Chicken shit.
He looks really cool,
by
the way.
He looks good.
He just looks like a guy that you'd like to say hello to.
But look at this. Look at this. I got a white replica Nick Chubb signed helmet.
Cheers to that, friend.
Orange face mask, white helmet, orange signature from Nick Chubb right here.
The one and only.
From right there. For those of you that can't see it, it is a full replica helmet.
Certified authentic.
I'll put it on my head.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Hold on a second. We're going to put this on my head.
There we go. Let's go. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
There's a.
Oh, we figured it. We're figuring it out.
You're not supposed to put your head in here.
I'm sure you could. Maybe if you remove that, you could, right? It's got the pads in there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a legit helmet.
Yeah, it's a legit helmet. I tried to put it on there and it just went bang at me. So, but there it is. Yeah.
The best part is I didn't record all the way through it, but I later discovered that it very clearly says, do not put this on. My nose is so sunburned in that video. We had sat out there at training camp, and it was early July.
That, by the way, because Jacob's coming to multiple training camps. So.
Yeah. And then also Nick is watching, or Nick is already hitting the White Claw in that video. So we had returned.
Yeah.
But there is the first moment, the me putting on my memorabilia helmet and nearly breaking it because it was not to be worn, and I put it on anyway.
You know what? I want to say it means a lot to me that we're starting to get to the point where we can go back in the archives and like see that kind of thing, because it really says how many episodes we've done now. So to everybody that's here, it means so much that we get to do this every week. I love it, and I can't wait for more, because what a segment, what a debut, bravo. I mean, absolutely.
Well, also admitting to being chicken shit to not talk to Jim Donovan while also being like, Jim Donovan looks good. Like it was a very weird clip that makes you go like, why does anybody tune in? But like, I say this every week that, thank you to everybody. The most valuable thing you can give anybody is some of your time. So we appreciate again that you've given some of yours to us. If you're on Twitch, consider following and subscribing to the channel. It helps us out greatly. If you have Prime, you can subscribe for free, one free sub a month. There's a crown on Nick's arm, his left arm over there. If you click on the other one, that arm that you're holding up. So it's right. It's a little bit further over, but yeah, it's right there. It's right there. So there's a crown. If you go right there, and you'll be able to click on that, and you can subscribe for Prime. Yeah, it's right there.
I have an admission. I'm cheating and watching the stream too.
Oh, I am too. I've got it up so that I can see what's going on. So if you guys want to subscribe, we really appreciate it. If you're watching this on YouTube, consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel. We've got a lot of great stuff. YouTube daily videos every morning. Sometimes it's most of the time it's Browns, but sometimes it could be the Guardians and things like that. We call them the daily shorts, and they're under 10 minutes to start your day out about 7:30 a.m. every day. So guys, it's training camp, man, and we were going to do the 53-man roster bet this week, but the other two gentlemen here decided to ask for a little bit of an extension, so they have an extension. I do have my 53-man, and we can go over it later if we want to. I've published it in writing as well on Dog Pound Daily if you guys want to check that out. But I'll dive into a little bit of that tonight, because I'll probably rammer on and on for quite some time.
Mitch, yes, it's a new hat. It's a new hat.
There it is. We were waiting for Mitch to ask, but
I know. I saw
has
that
a new hat.
up there, and I had to say, my boy Mitch, yes, it is a new hat. I got it today from the Outlet Malls in Jeffersonville, Ohio. So
it's beautiful.
That's Bengals. That's Bengals country. That is Bengals country. But no, this guy snatched up a nice hot Cleveland Browns. It's so white hot. They always say, Nick, I going back, I didn't pay attention too much to science in school, because who cares? But here's the thing. White hot. That's hot. That's really hot, right? That's a hot hat right here. Go Browns.
It is a hot hat. I love it.
Well, the only reason I said science, and no, don't come at me about the science. Look, I don't believe the earth is flat. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I was never going to go in that field, and I let scientists be scientists, and I believe what they say, but I don't delve into that. That's all I want to say.
We here do sports.
Yeah. Thank you.
We do have our good friend Jeff has gifted another tier 1 sub to a listener. Wow. He's a gifting maniac. So we really, really appreciate you. But he says that you're a science hater.
See, I knew that's why I tried to defend myself before the allegations. It's a sports show, like Nick said. It's a sports show.
There is you back off of that talk right there. You back off of that talk, guys. So we want to dive in, kind of start talking here about training camps and more. So we, talked with Ali Highsong last week as we kind of previewed some things that are going to be happening. I wanted to start off the top with the transactions that occurred today, and that was 2 players being placed on the PUP list, and Jack Conklin and Denzel Ward. And I said this on Twitter, and I'll say it again here, but I'm not really too awfully concerned about someone going on the PUP list in July. You're looking at a guy like Jack Conklin, like it was always going to be kind of taking it slow for him, just because, this is a patellar injury. This is something that could take up to 12 months to heal. I have not heard anything that indicates he will not be ready for the season. But a lot of people are like, oh man, this means he's going to be out for some time. I think this is just being cautious, kind of like they were last year. I think the same thing with Denzel Ward. I'm not concerned by either one of them. Conklin, I pretty well saw coming. We thought there was a chance he wouldn't go on the pup, but I think you pretty well could say that, especially for at least the first, few weeks of camp, especially you're not going to go out there with that knee in an unpadded practice and push it and blow it out. Like, you're just like, because what is it? It's a week or so and before they even put pads on, right? So it's like, you're definitely not going to participate in any of those on-field drills without pads on. If you're Jack Conklin, I would say he's probably not going to do anything till towards the middle or toward the end of August. He'll be there, but in terms of actually like on-field reps and things like that, I would say it's going to be close to, the end of August before he does anything. With Denzel, we know he had that ankle situation at the end of mini camp, and they said he would be fine in training camp. Again, I think this is just let's not do anything stupid in July, and let's rest two very key cogs in the machine. Now, if we're 3 weeks from now and we still don't know when they're coming off the pup, for Conklin, I will understand it. But in 3 weeks, if we don't have Denzel on the field, then I'll probably start stressing about it.
I did see, I can't remember where I saw the report from, but it was on Twitter today that the expectation is that Jack Conklin will practice in a limited fashion as early as next week. So,
okay.
That was encouraging to me, which lines up with pads as well. So, I mean, maybe if he can, at least if he's doing some work, right, that's super encouraging.
If he's doing anything, because that is an injury that we could have lost him until late in the season. So if he's doing anything in camp, I feel good about that.
My thing is this: is like if Deshaun's suspension is like 6 games, like I want Conklin playing from, what I'm saying. But as long as he's ready, if we got him for that run from that would be well worth it. That's why we kept him around this season, because obviously the Browns in the front office think this is the season they're going all in. Obviously, and I think that if that suspension is 6 to 8 games, even still, I think with a good record, 5-3, whatever, moving forward, Jack Conklin, obviously have him with Deshaun Watson. That's what you want, protect him, and I'll take whatever I can get from him this year, because I think But to your point, Jacob, if I don't see him doing anything until August, I'm fine with that. I'm okay. Don't
especially with Hubbard back, right? Like Hubbard healthy and back.
We have depth.
Hudson made, some really great strides by the end of the year, and you've got a pretty favorable, first month of the season. Yeah, the third game, the offensive line is going to need to be on their A game against the Steelers. No matter what you think about the Steelers, you can definitely agree that defensive line with Highsmith and Hayward and Watt, you definitely want people to be ready for that. But yeah, man, I just don't see it. And I don't think too many people were panicking. I think people were just kind of like, oh, here we go or whatever. But I don't think it means much on July 26th. Our good friend Drew wants to know when Ed's getting a hat of his own with his silhouette featuring a hat and tie.
That makes sense. One thing I want to say, shout out to Drew in the Brick City, one of my biggest fans, and I love you back. He's always got some good insights, and I like that idea, Drew. That's a hey now kind of moment.
So he also wants to know if he buys that hat, will he get a VHS of the best of Ed's dances?
You know what? VHS. I'm telling everybody, don't get into crypto. Get back into VHS. That's going to be the hot thing. That's
coming back. That's the thing. The currency is going to turn into VHS videotape.
Yeah, it's coming back. It's coming back, yo.
I'm not sure that is.
That's probably not accurate. Don't actually listen to that.
Don't actually. This
is a sports show, not a business show, not science and not business. So don't listen to any of my business takes. You'll go broke. You'll go broke.
Gracias. I got pumpkin chocolate chip muffins and a glass of milk. That's what we're doing up here.
Nice.
Ed, when we get up there on Saturday, man, we've gone over this, back and forth, but during the individual drills, obviously, we're going to be watching the same things. I'm going to be once we get into team, I'm going to be watching how Deshaun Watson runs the offense. We don't know when he'll be running the offense. Maybe by then we will. That'd be great. But obviously we're going to watch that in team drills. But is there any position group because you think they're good or because you think they're bad? But like, where are you going to zoom in first, or more often, where are you going to keep coming back to which group in at least in the individual portions of practice on Saturday?
Well, I think this group is a sexy group, and it can be even sexier. But it's a group that's going to lead the Cleveland Browns, because let's be real, Deshaun Watson's gone, right? The first couple, let's be probably at least 4 to 6 to 8 games, whatever. So Jacoby Brissett's in there. What's going to make Jacoby Brissett better than what he can be? It's not the offensive line's good, okay? We know that. The running backs are really good. We already know that, okay? And the tight end, we like Njoku and everything. It's the wide receivers. I want to see Amari Cooper. I saw his EA Madden rating. Pretty high. It's higher than Jamar Chase. It's got some people upset. I think Mr. Or wide receiver. I'm so excited about him. Amari Cooper. I'm so excited about him. Can't even get his name out. I can't believe that we actually got him. He's so silky smooth, unlike me being right now with my talk. And it's just, I'm excited to watch him go out there, run those crisp routes. I wish Bell would be healthy, or that's kind of a heartbreaker for me. I'd like to see the kid from Purdue, but it's the wide receivers.
Nick, what about you, man? I mean, like, it could be because they're good, because they're bad, whatever, but what group are you going to keep coming back to in individual drills this weekend?
You know what? I'm still after the linebackers. I saw a great debut from JOK, and I'm really excited about what he can be in year 2. And, Jacob Phillips is kind of the mystery of, like, when he's on the field, that's really promising. And when he's not, it's really frustrating. So I'm really hoping, because I feel like if Jacob Phillips and JOK are in the middle of the defense, that is like the vision that Andrew Berry and I'm sure Joe Woods set out to build, right? Is speed, side to side, rangy, adaptable linebackers, right? And so I just would love to see what the defense looks like with guys that have that capability.
You know what? Listen to this. I'm glad you brought up linebackers. I want to talk a minute, just real quick, a second, about the forgotten man, Tony Fields.
Oh, Tony.
Tony Fields is not getting talked about, guys. And I actually had a very, very favorable film study of Tony Fields back on episode 2 of the Barking Brown Show.
Episode 2?
When my internet was awful. I will freeze up several times in this clip. But I'm going to show you my clip, which I think I talked him up a little bit much. I will go a little bit more into detail, a little bit about that. But let's take a trip down memory lane to look about the guy whose rookie season ends up being kind of a wash in Tony Fields. But this is a scouting report I gave on episode 2 of the Barking Browns after watching some of Tony Fields' film in college. Comparison. That's a great comparison for Tony Fields. He's I like to call him the heat-seeking missile, because he will find it and he will close it. So the first thing I said that is a knock on Tony Fields is that he is undersized. That is where I think he falls to becoming a 5th-round pick. I think that has a lot to do with it. But here are my bullet points, and then I'll ask you, kind of what you think, and if you've got any questions about what I wrote down here. So he's got amazing sideline to sideline speed. I think his athletic score and his 40 time do not tell how he plays on the field. He covers ground very well. He has great instinct and he trusts them. He is not going to be caught flat-footed. He is not going to be standing still, Mac Wilson, and not knowing anything about what's going on. He is his head is on a swivel. His feet are moving. Even if he's just chopping his feet, he is not going to be caught out of position very often. He is very decisive and he is explosive. So he sees the ball and he's going to go hit the ball. He doesn't give up on a play. Yeah, I think he doesn't take bad angles. That's what I was going to say. He takes very good angles when he's running down backside. He chases running backs down with speed. He doesn't give up on a play if someone blows by him. He's undersized and he will get bodied up by linemen. He is a little bit easier for those linemen if they can get to the second level or if he's rushing the passer. I think West Virginia had him as an outside rusher a lot, at least in that Baylor game. And he did have a sack in that game. So he is a very capable guy. He's explosive. And I think he surprises tight ends by his athletic ability because it just doesn't look like he's that explosive. Yeah, there you go. There's my take 1 year ago about Tony Fields. Hyper athletic dude. Who just is, I think I wrote down too that he was a tackling machine, so to speak, that he was really good at that. But he's undersized. His durability was a problem already right out the gate.
Sure.
But I think he's going to be a massive player on special teams.
Okay. You know what? The Browns very much need to improve on special teams. Somebody pointed out to me how many games the Browns lost by 3 points or fewer, and it's a list. So our kicking game being good, I don't know why. We were walking down memory lane of the Chargers game, which I was sitting in SoFi for, and he reminded me that the Browns missed a field goal and an extra point in that game. On top of the Chargers also missing an extra point and gifting, but that's neither here nor there. We need improvement. So any way that happens, good.
I like the wide receiver room a lot, but yeah, man, it's just going to stay the defensive tackle room until you can give me just any, and I don't care who it is. Just give me just a little bit. I know it's going to be an unpadded practice this weekend, but like just a little bit, man. That's all I need. Just something.
Jacob, here's the thing about defensive tackles, and everybody likes these position groups to watch. I think the hardest thing to evaluate is like the defensive tackles, like in training camp, compared to like wide receivers or running backs or other things. And here's why. Because to me, a defensive tackle, we've had them in Cleveland. I remember in the 90s when Michael Dean Perry and all them, and we signed Jerry Ball and stuff. There'd be a lot of these guys that would get like, oh, wow, he's supposed to be good. But and then in practice, they dominate. But in games, what do they do in games? And there's a lot of defensive tackles and a lot of defensive linemen that maybe they don't practice well, but sometimes during games, that brings out the beast in them. And it's like, and I feel like a lot of these studs or whatever like that we've been getting, and I remember Gerard Warren, we took number 3 in 2000 out of Florida, and he's supposed to be the stud, and he'd practice well and stuff like that, but on Sundays never showed up. So I think that no matter what we see, at training camp in Berea, I'll say one thing: the preseason games, those two, I think that's where you're going to see the defensive tackles, really come out. But I don't know about what we're going to see in Berea. You're going to see a bunch of guys that are really big, really fast, and then do a lot of damage. But I don't know. It's got to translate to the game situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And going to an unpadded practice this weekend is definitely going to leave it in a situation where it's like, I like
they're all going to look
but
good. I think they're all going to look good. I think that's the thing. They're all going to look good.
There's a lot of love in the chat right now. Christian's here. I believe our great friend Michael Cozy is here. Jeff's here. Just Christian spreading the love.
We love.
That's down with Browns right there, baby.
Yeah.
Down with Browns.
Yeah, Cozy's in here spreading the Cade York truth.
And if you haven't seen it on Twitter, you got Ed dancing, you got Christian dancing. It's a full-on dance-off over there at Down with
Yeah,
Browns.
he says he can take me. I know he's really good. I give
He's
him
got some moves. Christian's got some moves.
He does have some moves, but he better pack a lunch if he wants to go against the great Ed in Columbus. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to embarrass him. I love Christian.
Yeah, well, I'd say, it's just some stuff. Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's really interesting, how good everybody can look. I mean, when it comes to the defensive tackles on Saturday in practice, in training camp, I know it's not going to necessarily be indicative of who you are as a player, but I just want you to give me something, though. I just need something. I don't even really care what it is, because if you look bad in practice, I'm going to start feeling even worse about the situation. Because if you can't at least go, okay, you don't have to panic about the position quite yet, because you saw some things Taven Bryan did this pretty cool, and
knock down a pass or do something, do something.
Just something that you're like, oh, hey, yeah, okay, that's a play that you could make on the field on Sunday. That would be cool. Not one of those crazy drills that doesn't directly translate like some of the stuff Jameis Winston does. And you're like, I don't know if that means you're good or not. I don't know what the hell that was, but nothing like that. But your regular drills, Mitch had a great idea. I'm going to scroll up here if I can find it here. He says he's going to run the Oklahoma drill against Jed Wills.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, Mitch,
But he said he'd probably be smashed due to the false start.
He did have 11
Mitch-
penalties or whatever.
the
Hey,
good
what
news
was
is-
up with me trying to give Tony Fields some props and just taking a shot at Mac Wilson?
I never blame anybody in the
You're
Browns
a big
community
Mac
for
Wilson
doing that.
fan.
I took so many shots at Mac Wilson
Jacob was
last year.
Yeah. And you know what? So I have a question.
Yeah.
So anyone that is familiar with Jacob's writing would know that Mr. Michael Harley Jr. is Jacob's camp darling. And so if you remember back, because we're reaching a little back, I have a question to both of you. Will Michael Harley Jr. be Jacob's final roster gem, right? The one that he gets right and gets over all of us? Or will it be another Daryl Hodge situation?
Do you want a spoiler that my 53-man roster the prediction does not have Mike Harley Jr. on the roster?
I think he makes the practice squad.
I think he makes the practice squad, yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, I got that. Yeah,
If there's
it's
one
true.
thing I know, it's that Jacob will fall in love with somebody, and he's going to be on his final roster. So I can't wait to hear.
Well,
I liked even during Hard Knocks. Who was the guy that they featured? That one that ran it back, the punt return or the kickoff return. He had that name, Giuseppe something, or I don't know.
Damon.
Giuseppe. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
That was I rooted for that guy. That was a fun guy. We always have somebody like that.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I'll do. This is what we'll do. We'll transition this over here right now to my 53-man roster prediction. Last year, I did it earlier than Nick. I'll do it earlier than Ed and Nick. This week, I'll go ahead. I've written this up for Dog Pound Daily, so it is consumable, but I'll do a little bit more of an in-depth explanation.
He'll give us a cheat sheet. I love it.
Jacob.
Thank you.
So for those that are not aware, we are doing a bet, a 53-man roster bet. The three of us, the two losers, will do the Hot Ones Hot Sauce Challenge.
My belt champions right here. Right.
So we'll see. All right. So
I gotta enjoy it, Jacob, because now I'm competing against two other people. I gotta step my game up this year.
I want everybody to know that's not watching us, that's listening. I am putting up a W right now. And the reason I'm putting up that W is because the outer parts of the W are pointing to the two losers of this challenge right now.
I'm the defending champion, okay? I got my home court, home turf. I'm ready for this.
So, disclaimer that there will be 54 on this roster because Josh Dobbs is on here for the Watson suspension.
Makes sense.
So if you were to count, it would go that way. So obviously, off the top, my specialists, there's nothing surprising there. Cade York, Borchquet, I don't know what his name is, and Charlie Hewlett.
I think it's Borkowitz.
The interesting thing about Borquez is that he's a bad holder from what I've been told, so it'll be very interesting to follow. They have another punter. They don't have any other kickers. They do have another punter in camp, which is interesting because from the
See, but Jacob, back in the day, my first Browns game I went to December 17, 1989, they used to have the holder would always be the backup a quarterback. So
you know why they changed
Mike Pagel that threw the touchdown pass on a fake field goal in my first Browns game.
Do you know why they changed that?
Why?
Because the punter and the kicker spend all day together. So why wouldn't it be them?
Well, yeah.
You're pulling like a quarterback out of other drills potentially to practice holding, whereas the punter, he doesn't have any other drills.
Yeah,
he's with the kicker all day.
Pull that fake field goal. Pull that fake with the.
Oh yeah. But then you also remember what Tony Romo did. But anyway, in the playoffs. All right, so we'll go across. Let me give you top to bottom the offense, and we'll get you some. I will give you the offense, and then I'll give you an opportunity to ask any questions, and then I'll defend myself based on how that goes. So Watson, Brissett, Dobbs at quarterback. At running back, they kept four. They kept all four of them. Chubb, Hunt, Johnson, and Ford.
Okay.
We talked to Quincy Carrier a few weeks back, and he brought up a really good point about trading these running backs and the fact that they just don't have value in trades. And that really convinced me. The more I thought about it, that was a really, really good point. He's like, you're not going to get anything that's actually what Hunt is worth or what Johnson is worth. Because if Johnson was going to be able to fetch you something, he probably would have been traded or he would have been signed before he signed that tender. Well, he didn't sign the tender. They gave him a new deal. But you know my point.
Hunt's a year removed from tying the lead in running back receiving touchdowns.
He's only like 3 years removed from a rushing title. But it's just the position's devalued again. It is. And Quincy was right. I mean, I started looking at it more after he had said this, and I was like, yeah, it's the truth. So tight end, I've just got the 3. Here is the asterisk here. It's Njoku and Bryant, and I have Miller Forrestall, who just kind of hangs around on this roster. But, I've heard Jake Burns and some other people suggest that the tight end 3 is not on the roster. He's going to be somebody that gets cut from another team.
Okay.
And I think that that's probably realistically the truth. But that's where I got Njoku, Bryant, and Forrestall.
Do you think
now,
is there a chance that the third tight end is
Johnny Stanton? Yeah. I think there's a realistic shot because they're not gonna roster a fullback, but they might roster a third tight end who also plays H-back. So Johnny Stanton could sneak on that roster. He's very interesting in that position. So offensive line, I've got your starting 5: Jed, Conklin, Batonio, Teller, and Nick Harris. Hubbard and Hudson, your backup tackles. Ethan Pocic and Michael Dunn as your backup guards/center. And then rounding it out, your 10th lineman, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 10th lineman, Dawson Deaton, the 7th round pick. So a guy named Blake does not make the cut. He was awful as a tackle, just awful. And Michael Dunn's a better guard. He's a better guard because Drew and I had a disagreement in the sense that he said,
Dunn has been a good guard.
Why cut Hans? Because he can play all 5 positions because he can potentially do some snap in there. But my thing is he is awful as a tackle, so that versatility and experience is not a factor in my opinion because he's just not good at all. Yeah. And then as a guard, he's fine, but Michael Dunn's better. Ethan Pocic
plays center, right?
Well, Blake Hans has played a little bit of center, not in actual game action, but he did some in the preseason last year. But Pocic is a guard and a center. Dawson Deaton is a guard and a center. And then so we're just needing another guard potentially, and I think Dunn's the better straight up guard, so Hans loses out. And so does my boy Alex Taylor, who I really, really like. So it puts it there. That is my situation here. Then I got the wide receivers. I got
how many?
6 wide receivers. Okay. Amari Cooper, DPJ, David Bell, Anthony Schwartz, Jakeem Grant, an undrafted rookie free agent out of the University of Northern Iowa, Mr. Isaiah Weston. Isaiah Weston can burn, and there's only 2 people in this roster that can burn, and that's Schwartz and Weston. He's Weston's 25, so his ceiling is.
Grant can burn too, right?
Yeah, Grant can burn too. He's just not.
He's just not that great of a wide receiver.
He's just not a great wide receiver. He's there as a returner, but he'll get some action. He'll get some action out there. So I like Weston a lot there. So that is my offensive side of the ball, gentlemen, some thoughts.
So then we're taking Weston over our drafted wide receiver out of
Michael
Oklahoma.
Woods.
Yeah, Michael Woods.
I'm not. Mike Woods is fine. He's fine. If he were to make it over Weston, it would actually make a lot of sense. Because Weston probably survives the practice squad more. Maybe he gets there easier. But I watch Woods, and there are some things that I like, but there is nothing on there that makes me go, man, I can't let this guy get away. I'm just not that impressed with Mike Woods.
Okay, I was thinking in my head because I was like, did he say David Bell? And yeah, you did.
So I got a question for you guys. Like back in the day, Bernie had Brian Brennan was his go-to guy. Tim Couch had like Darren Cheverini. There's always a guy that a quarterback has. Who do you see like stepping up? And maybe not even this year, but like for Deshaun Watson, who's going to be his on third? Like we had Kadero Hodge was our guy for, would always catch those third. Who's going to be that? I think it's going to be Bell eventually, but who do you think is going to be that guy?
I think it's David Njoku.
Oh, you think he's going to be okay?
He was good with Darren Fells. He was good with Darren Fells. And Watson is somebody that will target the tight end and utilize them. Okay. So I think I do. And so I'm hoping.
That's the best answer, Nick. That is the best answer.
In fantasy. I want David Njoku in fantasy all over. Give him to me. What about you, Jacob?
I think it's Amari Cooper.
Okay.
Amari Cooper he's a smooth tactician who moves the football. And Njoku's a phenomenal answer. Don't get me wrong. I think that was a really good answer.
No, there's no wrong answer.
Yeah.
But I think he's the most proven guy on that roster. Amari Cooper's that most proven.
Oh, I like what Cozy says. Harrison Bryant. That's a Cozy. Shout out to Michael Cozy.
I'll tell you what, we talked about this on the weekend exclusive on Sunday when we did a little bit training camp talk with a bunch of guys from Network 216. Harrison Bryant in the red zone. I like Harrison Bryant in the red zone a lot this year. He's just whatever it is, because Harrison Bryant he's so interesting because he's not like a ridiculous level athlete. He's not ridiculously strong. It's almost like David Bell as a tight end. You're not going to look at anything that Harrison Bryant does and be like, man, he does that better than this guy. But Harrison Bryant can do some really consistent, nice things. Yeah. He's a very willing blocker. He tries, he's very interested in contact and things like that. I thought that even as Baker struggled last year, that I thought Harrison Bryant and him were getting a really nice connection going there until Harrison Bryant, who doesn't end up missing a lot of time, but does get that high ankle sprain that just kind of like limits him after in that game against Baltimore. But I think Harrison Bryant, he does, you can't necessarily point to one thing, but that is a really good answer.
You know what's interesting about Harrison Bryant? There were some routes that they had him run where he was going deep. He was one of the guys that was going deep, and we didn't see the connection because Baker threw a couple picks on the couple times that it happened. But
that one he just threw like at Harrison Bryant's feet.
Yeah, and
that was a touchdown, dude.
Oh, and that's what's frustrating about it. But my point is, they're using Harrison Bryant also like he could be a big play threat. I know we haven't seen all of that yet, but they're utilizing when they were having him run routes, like they believe in him as that kind of threat.
Yep. I think it's really interesting, but I think it's a very deep offensive line, man. I think they keep 10 because you can't afford to let them go. They learned their lesson last year. That's what I think. All right, we're going to transition over to the defense. Listen, guys, I ran with 6 defensive ends, 6 edge players, and only 4 tackles. So we kept up the trend of 10 on the line. And that was because, and I talked about this weekend as well, you got Garrett Clowney, Wright, and Isaiah Thomas, who all can play inside. I think we're going to see that a lot. I think we're going to see a lot of formations from Joe Woods in which there are 3 edge rushers. Is, so to speak, 3 guys that typically are edge rushers with one of them kicking inside. I think you're going to see that a lot with Woods this year because I think that is how they'll supplement a weak position on the interior. So I think at edge, you've got Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, Alex Wright, Chase Winovich, Isaiah Thomas, and I think Stephen Weatherly makes the cut. He got a pretty nice contract. I thought that was a pretty decent sized contract. It's nothing stupid, but it's like, I think it's like $2 million or more of it is guaranteed. So it's got a dead, a couple million dead cap if you cut him, so it doesn't make a lot of sense. And then he becomes, that veteran body out there. And I think Weatherly ends up being the guy that makes the cut. And then I think it's just Elliott, Jordan Elliott, Taven Bryan, Tommy Togiai, and Perion Winfrey on the interior. And they're going to supplement it with some extra edge rushers. And I think that's why they'll carry 6 so that they're able to supplement that. Over at linebacker, Jacob Phillips, Anthony Walker, JOK, Sione Takitaki, and our boy Tony Fields rounds out that.
Jacob, I know you're going into linebackers, but I just want to say no love for Sheldon Day.
Sheldon Day probably makes the practice squad.
That's one of Jake's darlings right there. So
I do. I love Sheldon Day. He probably just does what he did last year. He makes that practice squad and kind of goes back and forth and just kind of hangs around and that sort of thing.
Sure.
You could see a situation where maybe Isaiah Thomas, the 7th round pick, goes to the practice squad and they keep Sheldon Day. So they go 5-5.
Okay.
I like Sheldon Day a lot. I like him a lot, but I think he will be involved in some way, shape, or form. But I'm just not sure it's the initial 53 unless somebody potentially goes to IR and they kind of move some things around.
There's so many picks that Andrew Berry made last year, like that are so interesting on this team. And on the other side of David Bell, but you get into Isaiah Thomas, obviously, and then you're talking about Chase Wright, and both of those guys, that we haven't seen it, either of them, and you know how this show feels about Chase Wright, Alex Wright. Why am I calling him Chase Wright?
Chase Winovich, right?
Yes, yeah, and there's Chase Winovich as well. But these guys, they weren't flashy picks, but I think that they could come up and contribute in big ways.
It's not a flashy pick because you didn't make any picks until the 60s. It just it doesn't make them bad picks. It's just not as sexy because it wasn't. They weren't all household names. They weren't in the top 50 names that everybody saw on ESPN every day.
I want to give Andrew Berry a shout out because you know what? We say that, but Jacob, we were going through the dead period from January up until March doing these mock drafts. And there were times we had Perrion Winfrey at number 44, and we're talking about how sexy that was. So
that's true.
We got him at 108, makes him even sexier.
Yeah.
So
I will admit that getting him there, I was stoked. I was very, very stoked because there's some things that you worry about with Perrion Winfrey that causes him to fall there, but those worries feel a lot better at 108 than they did at 44. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Okay. Corners and safeties. I'm going to start with the safeties. I only kept 4. John Johnson III, Grant Delpit, Ronnie Harrison, Richard LeCount. I don't know where anybody else is. There's 4 of them. I just don't. There's nobody else on that roster that does anything. So I kept, you guessed it, 6 corners. But Richard LeCount, man, we got to figure out what it was, what the off the field, what the situation was with the suspension, what was going on. You got suspended by the Browns, not by the NFL, by the Browns. We got to figure out what's going on there. So, but I think single high, our good friend Roger First in Cuyahoga Falls likes to talk about the old bulldog. That's what he calls him, the old bulldog. I got to see that bulldog out there. That's my Roger impression. It wasn't very good. Yeah, I like Richard Count a lot. Now at corner, it gets interesting. I think this corner room is really fun. It's a very, very fun corner room. Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, stalwarts, absolute pivotal franchise pillars. Greedy Williams stays. Martin Emerson, the first round pick, or the first pick in the 3rd. AJ Green in the 2nd undrafted rookie free agent to make the Cleveland Browns roster. Nickel corner out of App State, Mr. Sean Jolly rounds out my 53-man roster. But he's the only one on there. He is the only one on there that is a true nickel corner. He's a true slot corner, really, really productive, pretty athletic, can run with the best of them. I did a piece on him on Dog Pound Daily. I'm going to do something probably in the next couple of days, a little bit more on Sean Jolly. Again, look at the money, right? Look at the money. He gets a decent-sized contract. Weston gets a little bit of money. Listen, like this is what they did twice. They've done it now 3 times in a row. They've given big bags to some guys they like. They liked AJ Green, who ended up playing significant minutes, some big minutes last year. They go with Marvin Wilson last year. It just does not work out for Marvin Wilson. He had great tape, and it fell off for him. I don't know what happened there. And now it's a guy like Sean Jolly. Glenn Logan's an interesting one at D tackle from LSU. But Sean Jolly got a nice, a little bit chunk of change as an undrafted free agent from App State, and I really think he pushes to make it because you're going to have Greg Newsome play quite a bit in the slot, which is not his natural position. I think he'll be fine in the slot. but you're going to need some backups, you know, in that sort of position. And nobody else really, I mean, maybe Martin Emerson, he's a big long corner. I'd rather have him on the outside. I'm not sure if he's ready to go right away, but I don't know. I don't think he you know, goes in the slot. So then you kind of keep Sean Jolly, and that is my 53-man roster ahead of training camp practices starting tomorrow.
Kudos to you, because I mean you're fearless going for this early, and so if you win, Jacob, it will be well earned.
I don't know, man. It's just what I see, and the thing is, it's just like I can go off of past performances, and I can go off of, you know, the tape, but we don't know what we're going to see starting tomorrow. And Sean Jolly could be just an absolute mess, and one of these other guys out of nowhere could steal the job. But I think they need 10 DBs, and that was the way it made the most sense to me.
And you know what? It's probably good that we separated our 53-man rosters into 2 episodes, because if all 3 of us did it, that would probably be the entire episode. But I do have questions for both of you, because I'm curious to know where you think this Browns roster, as Jacob laid it out, I mean, and Ed, I'm sure you'll have some variations, but in general, it's going to be similar. Where you think the Browns roster entering camp stacks up among the rest of the NFL? So either one of you, whoever wants to go first.
I'll go with Deshaun Watson starting. It's the top 5 roster.
Okay.
It's got playmaker. You look at the defense. Myles Garrett, they got stars in all the positions that you need. You need a star, you know, edge rusher. They got it. You got a star cornerback. They got 2 of them, Newsome and Denzel. Yeah. Then you need a stud linebacker. I think JOK is a stud. So okay, that takes care of your 3 positional groups for the defense. Your offensive line, enough said. You know, you got maybe, you know, HOFers there, you know, when it comes to even Batonio. I think his career, when it's all said and done, I mean, he's on par with Joe Thomas, not the same position, but I mean, you could argue that he's just as good. He just plays, you know, and then so then you look at the running backs, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Okay, enough said there. Then you talk about wide receivers, Amari Cooper. I mean, obviously the people at Madden love Amari Cooper. I actually got his name right this time, so I love Amari Cooper, so that feels good. So and then you put Deshaun Watson, who's a top 7 quarterback. So how can you tell me? And then you got Cade York, and you know, in that punter we got Bojorquez or whatever his name is. He's a top. He's pretty good. So how can you say this roster isn't a top 5 roster? I mean, unless you're just a Cleveland Browns hater, that's fine. We've got plenty of them. It'll be fun when we win this year, and then we can talk a lot of smack. Nick Carnes is really good at it too. So everybody follow Nick Carnes. Everybody think Nick Carnes is one way. He is the greatest. When the Browns are all winning, we're all getting along. He's the greatest one to follow, because he'll go after other fan bases, and he does it with class. He does it in a way that those other fan bases, they got nothing on us. They may have Super Bowl wins and stuff in Pittsburgh and Baltimore. They don't in Cincinnati, but when it comes to talking smack, Carnes is the king, and we're glad to have him on Brown's Twitter. But so I for top 5 roster, Jacob, to answer your question, Nick, and let's roll. That's why I said 11-6 no matter what. 11-6 no matter what who the quarterback is, because it is a top 5 roster.
I do want one more time want to talk about our friends at Underdog. And I want to tell you about the easiest way to get in on some action for the NFL, right? It's Underdog Fantasy and their pick'em game. So just pick over or under your favorite or maybe least favorite player, their stats, and you can win up to 20 times your money in a single night. Underdog keeps it super simple with their easy-to-use website and mobile apps. Pick between 2 to 5 players, fill out your pick'em slip, get every pick right, take home some cold hard cash. You know, use the promo code 216 when you sign up and get your first deposit doubled up to $100. And the over-under is very interesting. You can do it on baseball and some other sports as well. But with football, could be maybe Nick Chubb's over-under is 100 rushing yards. You do over-under on players' stats for that weekend. Pick 2 to 5 of them. The more you pick, the bigger the payout will be. But you got to get them all right. The roster is somewhere between 7 and 9 with Watson, somewhere between top 7, maybe top 9. There's just a few things that need to play out. Without Watson, it's probably somewhere between 10 and 13. 10th, 13th, somewhere in there, because it's just the quarterback position is just so valuable. Do you think
Baltimore has a better roster than us?
The thing is about their quarterback is I think Watson's a better overall quarterback, but I know definitively what Lamar is if he's out there, and he's at least theoretically going to be out there more than Watson.
Because I'm wondering, I said a top
No.
5, and you said a 7 to 9. So what are the teams that are preventing you from saying top 5? Is it teams like Baltimore, Cincinnati? Like, who do you have that's preventing you from saying
I
top
think the
5?
Browns roster is better than Cincinnati's. I'm not confident enough to say it's better than Baltimore's.
Okay, that's
Baltimore's
fair. I
is
think
pretty
that-
good if Baltimore's healthy. They're a playoff team last
What
year.
about the LA Chargers?
The Chargers are right there with the Browns. They're probably better.
Okay, fair enough. And I think those
Yeah.
are probably the 2 teams that separate what Jacob and I
Yeah,
are talking about.
I would say so. That's probably the 2 teams that you have them above that I'm
Okay, fair enough.
I'm not sure.
I want to put that out there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think those are probably the 2 differences between the 2 of us.
MC Lawrence, I am not upset. I'm upset, but I'm not upset. It is a top 5. I want to give it to fans out there. Look, we have the best fans in the world.
It definitely can be a
When
top
all
5.
else fails, we're going to put you in the top 5 because our fans are the best, and people like MC Lawrence. Yes, I'm a little bit upset. Jacob, just say they're top 5. We're gonna beat the Chargers.
Can be. I just have some questions.
Okay.
I get it. It wouldn't hurt to. You know what? One of my favorite things to talk about. Everybody highlights like all the Ravens injuries, and rightly so because they had a ton of them. Obviously, the Browns didn't have as many, but all their key positions. Jacob mentioned Blake Hance earlier and how much he struggled at tackle. I mean, the Browns are really to the end of the line.
They were to their 4th and 5th tackles at times.
I mean, that's awful.
With a quarterback that needed good tackle play because he was hurt. He was hurt and he was limited, and they had 4th and 5th tackles out there, and it was like.
So, you know what? Jack Conklin may not be starting camp immediately, but at least he's not entering camp with a mystery injury already. Like, we know what he's rehabbing from. He's already along that process.
Yep. Well, guys, we're going to have to hop off here because coming at 9:30 here on the Twitch is the debut of Network 216 Daily Sports Betting Podcast. That's right. Every day, 7 days a week, we are going to have a sports betting podcast over here on Twitch. If you're watching on Twitch, you might not be watching on Twitch. So, maybe you don't know. You're like, what the hell is he talking about? But stay tuned, 9 o'clock for the Grant P and Maddie G betting show here on Twitch, 9:30, 7 days a week, coming at you in about 15 minutes. Got all your great betting lines for tomorrow.
It's gonna be a hell of a day
weekly here on Twitch.
Can't wait. So
if you're watching this replay on YouTube, this is another reason why you want to go on Twitch, because the betting shows will not be on YouTube because they won't make sense. Because we can't put these videos up until 24 hours after they stream.
Sure.
So lots of exclusive stuff is going on live on Twitch. Some Guardian series previews, as well as some betting lines that just will never make it over to YouTube.
The currently winning 7-2 Guardians over Boston. It's a great night. Great night.
Fuck it, Eddie.
So this has been, and you know what? By the next time we come to you, we will have been all together. The grand meetup on Saturday is going to happen.
We will see you guys here on Twitch an hour after Browns practice ends, about an hour or so after Browns practice ends on Saturday. The 3 of us will be live from our hotel room, breaking down what we saw.
It's going to be, so you are not going to want to miss it. Even if you miss camp, you won't miss it because we will all be there watching it for you.
I will have a notepad and people will think I'm weird.
But you're just great, in fact. So
I'll be wearing a tie and people are going to think I'm weird, or they might think I actually work for the Browns.
I'm breaking out the Chubb jersey. Chubb jersey rocking. That's what we're doing. Orange Chubb jersey, in fact. Orange. So, that being said, the president of the Orange Fan Club is right here. This has been episode 66 of the Barking Brown Show, presented by Network 216.
Sorry. The betting show debuts tomorrow. I was wrong.
It does, well, okay. In any case, I'm Nick. He's Jacob. Watch the betting show. That's Ed in Columbus. See you Saturday. Go Browns.
Go Browns.
Go Browns.